Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Barakahak Wadash, Barakathum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who ruled and teach well. In peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure to the end. This is the brother Ra'aya coming at you with another lesson, and I'm going to start it off in Luke chapter 22, verse 37. And this is Yahushai, the Son of the Most High, whom the world ignorantly refers to as so-called Jesus, speaking. For I say unto you, that this that is written must yet be accomplished in me. And he was reckoned among the transgressors, for the things concerning me have an end. And Yahushai was prophesying about how he would be labeled, as a enemy of the state, so to speak, by the Pharisees, and then, later, sentenced to crucifixion by the Romans through Pontius Pilate. And then, when he was on the cross, what did he have? The two malefactors, the one on his right hand and the one on his left hand. Oh, and even before that, who was he, when he was getting sentenced, who did he have next to him? Barabbas, who was a known rebel and a murderer. And the people said, give us Barabbas. And Yahushua got the sentencing. So again, he was reckoned amongst the transgressors. And as it says in the book of John, the servant is not greater than his master. And also, everything written aforetime was written for our learning. The things Yahushua went to, to an extent, we're going to go through them. And that includes being persecuted, for preaching the word, and also being put in the same category as people that are labeled as enemies of the state, domestic teists, you name it. And I opened up the video with that verse to preface this video from Secular Talk's YouTube channel titled Bombshell, Trump Regime is Hunting Critics, the Kyle Kulinski Show. And the FBI is passing a new mandate that's just going to further, criminalize those that are deemed as enemies of the state against, the Trump regime in the guise of, anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, etc., etc. And we know that all these things are just a play to come at their real target, the men of the Lord, the prophets of the Most High, who are doing real damage out here spiritually by simply preaching this word, which is taking down Esau, Edom's rulership and exposing him, as it says in Matthew chapter 24, verse 14. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. But this is a fair use copyright disclaimer. I do not own any of the footage in this clip, nor do I stand to gain from it monetarily. It is simply for educational purposes.
All right, guys, so we got some massive news here about the crimes of the Trump regime. So Ken Klippenstein has this piece. Exclusive, FBI's new political pre-crime center. Are your views on the list of domestic terrorism indicators? So what he's going to explain here, we'll jump into it in a second, but what he's going to explain here, they're actively targeting and, quote, hunting basically MAGA dissidents, people who oppose the regime. So he says, President Trump's budget request to Congress contains the largest counterterrorism spending increase in years, and buried inside it is a new FBI-led center dedicated to proactively hunting Americans the government classifies as so-called domestic terrorists. The new center and funding boost represent the implementation of Trump's National Security Presidential Memorandum 7, NSPM-7, the sweeping federal order I've been covering since it was signed last September. Though public opposition to ICE succeeded at forcing the administration to back down in Minnesota, even firing both Kristi Noem and Gregory Bavino, the FBI is doubling down on its domestic terrorism obsession. Now, the Trump budget request reveals the FBI runs a dedicated NSPM-7 Joint Mission Center with personnel from 10 federal agencies. It is busy proactively identifying domestic terrorists motivated by any of the following beliefs. Ready? So this is the list. We talked about it before, but anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, anti-Christianity, support for the overthrow of the U.S. government, extremism on migration, race, and gender, hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on family. So what if you're gay, in favor of gay marriage, you're an extremist? Hostility towards those who hold traditional American views on religion. So if you're an atheist or an agnostic, you're fucking a terrorist. Hostility towards those who hold traditional views on morality, which I don't even know what that one means, because I've never seen a more immoral regime than this one. But apparently you have to believe in their immorality in order to not be a terrorist. So, again, stop and think about this, guys. If you're considered a domestic terrorist, if you're, quote, anti-American, well, they call the entire left wing anti-American.
But hey, let's anti-Americanism, anti-capitalism, anti-so-called Christianity, because, you know, they're talking about that white supremacist Christianity, support for the overthrow of the U.S. government, extremism on race, on gender, etc., etc. You can easily see how, you know, this message of ours could be fitted into that category. We preach, you know, the downfall of Babylon the Great through, you know, the judgments of the Lord, not through us, you know, physically taking up arms and doing anything. That can be labeled as support for overthrow of the GOV, extremism on race. Hey, we say that the Lord is only for the Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and that these different heathen nations, especially the Edomites or so-called white people, are nothing to the Lord, and that they're going into slavery, you know, etc., etc. So, again, all the pieces are being put in place to, you know, number us amongst the transgressors. They just using the guise of left-wing extremism, domestic teaism, whatever you want to call it. This is Psalms chapter 64. I'm going to start at verse 1. And the header reads, Prayer for deliverance from secret enemies. To the chief musician, a psalm of David. Hear my voice, O power, in my prayer. Preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked, from the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. And this is clearly a secret counsel, because as it says in 2 Corinthians 2 verse 11, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. We know who the main target is, you know, this truth, and the men on the highways and byways, as well as putting up video epistles like this. And hey, chiefly the brothers of GMS or Great Millstone, you know, are the main target of these different agendas. Because like I said with Matthew 24 verse 14, we are bringing down Esau Edom's rulership by simply preaching the words of the Lord. And as it says in the book of Judah chapter 5, you know, when the Israelites wake up and start calling upon their power, whatever heathen nation that's ruling at the time is going to be taken out of power and put into derision. And the elites understand this perfectly. Hence why it says in Revelation 12 verse 12, the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time. The elites of these Edomites see the nation waking up, the prophets out preaching, and these prophecies we're speaking of coming to pass right before their very eyes. So they're about to rush to, you know, censor this word, persecute the believers, and try to bring about that NWO, that great RESET, who whet their tongue like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words, propaganda, slander, you name it, that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Oh, this is for anti-Americanism, those that want to overthrow the government, anti-capitalism, extremism on race, gender, migration. Suddenly did they shoot, and fear not. They encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily. They say, who shall see them? But Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai sees you first and foremost, and his men see you and are exposing you. But now I'm going to jump to the 2-minute, about 57 minutes.
Anti-Christianity. Okay, I'm agnostic or an atheist, however you want to describe me. I'm fine with either label. Does that mean that I'm a terrorist? I mean, I was raised Catholic. Does that count? Am I safe now because I was raised Catholic and I had like confirmation and shit like that and communion? Does that count? Or because I'm I'm agnostic and an atheist. Does that
Go to about the 3
like fucking
minute
make
59-second mark.
fine-tooth comb, trying to create that Palantir blackmail database on all of us, and they're adding you to secret government lists if you have the wrong politics. That's what this tells me. So authoritarianism is fully here. Fascism is fully here. And now you have the so-called respectable intelligence agencies are doing Trump's dirty work for him. That's what's happening. He says, in other words, if your political views are practically anything other than MAGA, you're on notice, courtesy of the FBI. The new center combats these supposed threats by integrating intelligence, operational support, and financial analysis. Its creation appears to be inspired by the murder of conservative commentator Charlie Kirk, an event that reportedly precipitated the formulation of NSPM-7 in the first place. According to the budget request,
and being, anti-MAGA is being anti-NWO, because they like to put up that, traditional American Christian values front. But look at how Trump's administration is moving. Project Stargate putting $500 billion into, AI infrastructure, all these data centers being built up, Trump wanting to make America the Bitcoin and crypto capital of the world, him wanting America to lead in the race for 6G, where he literally said, hey, they're even talking about devices being put under your skin, that MOTB. He's surrounded by tech, billionaires, et cetera, et cetera. And lest we forget, MAGA is the highest order, the highest label for a magician in the satanic order.
Which alludes to heinous assassinations having dramatically increased. The budget request also singles out social media as some kind of breeding ground for domestic terrorism, saying
social media as some kind of breeding ground for domestic teism. Hey, how has this gospel been preached to all the world for a witness unto all nations? Psalms chapter 19, through the unicorn, or the internet. And, when our apostles and elders, came under YouTube back in 2007, hey, we saw the Great Awakening take place. Now you've got GMS camps all across the planet preaching this same message, waking up the elect and condemning Esau and bringing about the end of his world.
Domestic terrorists exploit a variety of popular social media platforms, smaller websites with targeted audience, and encrypted chat applications. They use these platforms to recruit new adherents, plan and rally support for in-person actions, and disseminate materials encouraging radicalization and mobilization of violence. By the way, I should point out, people told me when I was doing Kyle and Corin this week that I think, the Secular Talk Reddit, which apparently was, there was a decent number of people that were doing their thing over there. Apparently the whole fucking thing was banned. And I think the whole thing was pulled down either because of real strident objection to the Iran war among everybody on there, or some people said there was some Luigi posting going on. A little bit too much support showed for Luigi, right? And that alone was enough to get it pulled. So what I'm warning everybody out there is be careful, because any sort of left of center community, I don't care who it is, even other left of center communities that I might not even agree with, they're infiltrated. Every single one of them is infiltrated. There's fucking intelligence assets that are inside every single left of center community, and they are actively trying to undermine and destroy every one of these communities and make it so that it can no longer be a community. And so I'm just...
Hey, Apostle Tahar says it all the time. You've got Judas goats in every, GMS camp. And, you had infiltrators in the past in the ministry, and you're going to have infiltrators here as well, making themselves, ingraining themselves within the camp to take suspicion off, getting ready to get the order to make a move to have the ministry blamed. And let's not even get on these other camps. They damn sure have agents and wolves amongst their ranks. But this is Galatians chapter 2, verse 4. And that because of false brethrens, unawares brought in, agents, spies. Hey, what did Apostle Tahar deem the year 2026? The year of the apostates, the reprobates, and, the agents who came in privily to spy out our liberty, which we have in Hamashiach Yahushai, that they might bring us into bondage. Find out, what we're preaching, ingratiate themselves with certain brothers, send that information back, to their headquarters to what? Blame us, to the government, and what? Put us into bondage, having the alphabet boys come and hem us up and, thrown into a cell somewhere.
Just warning you in advance. Like, everybody needs to act accordingly.
With Whoop, start improving your fitness from day one with real-time.
Like, maybe don't post so edgy, so close to the sun that it ruins the community for everybody. And so I hope that
Hey, even he's saying, to spy out our liberties and bring us into bondage. You might not want to post some information out there that, get you on a list somewhere. But hey, the Spirit gets on brothers to preach this word, how it's going to come out. And they're going to label us amongst the transgressors regardless. But, hey, brothers can be circumspect with how they bring out the message. Just don't go completely wilding out
Killer
here.
Talk Reddit gets brought back. I don't know if it will. I genuinely don't. In his testimony to Congress, FBI Director Kash Patel said that he would investigate every single person on the Discord channels used by accused killer Tyler Robinson. The leaked screenshots of those same Discord chats that I obtained, as well as interviews I conducted with participants, made clear that these chats were about gaming, not politics. This was far from Patel's only overreach. Shortly after Charlie Kirk's death, he announced the Bureau investigating the possibility of accomplices, vowing to run down all theories and questions about outside government involvement, including a possible foreign nexus. Patel would later conclude there was no evidence for any of it, but by then, baseless theories about an Israeli government role in Kirk's death had proliferated across social media. Joe Kent, Trump's National Counterterrorism Center director until his resignation last month, reportedly tried to investigate these claims while in government and has since echoed them publicly. Maybe these guys should have taken their own advice about the perils of social media. But that's the thing, I don't trust them as far as I can fucking throw them. I genuinely don't think they have the right guy. I have no idea if Tyler Robinson actually did it because the evidence is so fucking weak. The evidence is so frail, and they've been wrong about everything else anyway. I would be shocked if they got the right guy because the official story makes no fucking sense, and I think everybody knows it makes no fucking sense. Anybody who's followed it closely knows it makes no fucking sense. But having said that, look, everybody who's not MAGA is a target. That's the bottom line. In the same, like, my whole life, there's always had to be some...
I said with that video, but hey, persecution, which leads into what? The famine of the word is right around the corner. This is Isaiah chapter 29, verses 18 to 21. And this is what the elites fear the most. And in that day shall the deaf hear the words of the book, and the eyes of the blind shall see out of obscurity and out of darkness. The elect of the nation of Israel, of your so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as well as the Israelite foreigners who, through the scattering and generations have come to look like the heathens, hear the words of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai through the prophets, and their spiritual eyes and ears are opened to who they are and who their power is and who their enemies are. The meek also shall increase their joy in Yahweh, and the poor among men shall rejoice in the Holy One of Israel. Because, again, we have our identity, we know who our power is, and that what? This situation we're in, where we're at the bottom of society, is only temporary, and we're about to come into eternal glory and rulership, and those that have afflicted us are about to be brought underneath our feet. For the terrible one is brought to naught, and the scorner is consumed, and all that watch for iniquity are cut off, which has taken place spiritually right now. The men of the Lord are the spiritual prosecution team, bringing up Esau's crimes before the judge, Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. And then when Yahushai makes his second coming, that's when he's going to physically take this devil out of power. That make a man an offender for a word. That's anti-Americanism. That's sedition. That's anti-capitalism, extremism on race, gender, migration, domestic teaism, and that lay a snare for him that reproveth in the gate, NSPM-7, and turn aside the just for a thing of naught. But now I'm going to close it out in Amos chapter 8, verses 11 to 13. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord Yahweh, that I will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor a thirst for water, though those things are coming as well, but of hearing the words of Yahweh, the famine of the word, which, like I just said, that and the persecution are synonymous with each other, because when they start coming against the men on the highways and byways and, scrubbing this message online, that's going to close the free availability of this word to where all, this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding you gained while this word was freely available, that's going to be what's going to get you through Jacob's trouble, that stability during the times. And they shall wander from sea to sea, and from the north even to the east. They shall run to and fro to seek the word of Yahweh, and shall not find it. 2/3 of our people that took this time of liberty as a joke and wanted to live about their, wicked lives in captivity, which they called American freedom, that American dream. In that day shall the fair virgins and young men faint for thirst spiritually. And besides, physically being dehydrated out here due to the famines, being spiritually dehydrated and having to take all that judgment of Jacob's trouble coming your way, which, as it says in 2 Ezra chapter 9, then shall they know it after death by pain. But that's it with this video. And with this video, I hope you sincere, Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We are almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharallah, and until next time, Shalom.